The morning my mother called, I was sitting on my apartment balcony, watching the city wake up. The distant rumble of buses and the soft breeze brushing against my cheeks made me feel, for once, a little less alone. But her voice on the other end, sharp, commanding, and dripping with expectation, sliced through that calm like a blade. There it was, decent. My family had a habit of turning my existence into a chore list. But it was what she said next that made my blood run cold. "Excuse me," I said, gripping the phone tighter. 12 kids? Yes, the flower girls, ring bearers, the cousins. Someone has to keep them occupied during the ceremony and reception, and it can't be Alina, she's the bride. You're the only one who isn't busy. I let out a dry laugh. I'm not busy because I wasn't included in anything. She didn't hear it, or she chose not to. She hung up after a few perfunctory lines about hair, makeup, and her usual "don't embarrass us" warning. As I sat there, the breeze now colder, the old bitterness settled back in my chest. This wedding wasn't just Alina's big day. It was another grand production in which I was cast in the background without my consent. Growing up, Alina had always been the golden child, the one with the curls, the dimples, the straight A's. I was the other daughter, the one who worked 2 jobs, rented a small apartment no one visited, and was conveniently summoned when something needed doing. Like this, I'd thought I was numb to their favoritism, but 12 children, at my sister's wedding, that wasn't a role, that was a punishment disguised as family duty. The drive back to my parents' house the next day was quiet but heavy. The mansion was dressed in twinkling fairy lights, the lawn freshly manicured, everything screamed perfect wedding. As I stepped inside, no one hugged me, no one asked how I was doing. Raina, finally, my mother barked, arms folded in her silk robe. "We were just discussing the kid station. You'll be outside near the lake, snacks, coloring books, and please don't let them run inside." "Kid station," I stared at her. "I'm not a babysitter, Mom." Her expression hardened. "Your family, you'll do what needs to be done." Behind her, Alina twirled in a soft cream dress, radiant, surrounded by bridesmaids. She looked ethereal, and me, I was a shadow on the wall. It wasn't one thing. It was always something. I wanted to scream, to tell them about all the times I'd been pushed aside. But I swallowed it like I always did. That night, alone in my childhood room, I traced the cracked paint on the ceiling and felt a strange pressure build inside me. A pressure I'd ignored for years. I was 28 years old, working long shifts, paying my own bills. And still, here I was, being treated like a servant in the story of someone else's life. Somewhere in that darkness, a thought flickered like a match. I didn't have to play along this time. My phone buzzed with a message from my father. "Make sure you're there early. The kids will arrive by 10. And that's when I whispered into the night, "We'll see about that." The first knock wasn't loud. It was firm, like the kind that doesn't ask to enter. It informs you it's already here. My aunt jumped, my brother froze, and Sana finally lost the smirk she'd been wearing like cheap perfume. "Who's that?" she whispered. I didn't answer. My body moved on autopilot, laptop under my arm, phone clenched in my hand. My mind replayed the alert again and again like a stuck record. Level 4, another knock. "Harder, Layla Khan," a man's voice called out, deep, professional, no accent, no warmth. "Department of Homeland Security." Opened the door. Aunt Roxana's face went pale. My brother's jaw dropped. "What the hell, Layla?" Sana backed away from the door like it might explode. I walked slowly toward it, each step heavy as lead. My pulse pounded in my ears, my throat dry as dust. When I opened the door, they were there, 4 of them. Dark suits, earpieces, ID badges hanging like weapons. Behind them, black SUV lined the curb like silent predators. "Ma'am," the lead agent said, "we need to talk." The living room filled with the smell of their presence, sterile, sharp, like freshly cleaned gunmetal. "May we come in?" he asked. I didn't have a choice. They moved with surgical precision. One agent walked straight to the router, another to the laptop. 2 more positioned themselves between my family and the door. "What is happening?" Aunt Roxana screamed. "We didn't do anything." The lead agent ignored her, his eyes fixed on me. "Miss Khan, our systems detected unauthorized access to restricted files through your company terminal. Do you confirm that access originated from this location?" "Yes." I breathed, but it wasn't. Then who? I turned to my family. They looked small now. My brother's bravado melted. Sana's sarcasm vanished. They didn't know what they were opening. I said, the words tasting like blood on my tongue. The agent's jaw tightened. Ignorance doesn't clear liability, Miss Khan. You're responsible for any breach from your system. One agent held up my laptop, already secured in an evidence bag. It's all here, he said. Agent Collins, the lead, said, secure the network. Panic exploded in the room like a grenade. My aunt started crying. My brother tried to talk his way out of it. Look, man, we didn't know. We thought it was just spreadsheets. The agent turned to him, voice flat. Sir, do you realize those spreadsheets contain classified movement schedules? My brother's mouth went dry. I clenched my fists. They didn't know. They never listened when I told them my work wasn't some little office job. I was the quiet one, the obedient one, the one they thought they could walk over. Now their ignorance was about to cost me everything. Miss Khan, the agent said, pulling me from my thoughts, you're coming with us for questioning. Sana gasped. No, she didn't do anything. But my eyes burned with something new, not fear, not just yet, something hotter, rage. They had opened something they shouldn't have, and now I was the one paying for it. The cold night air slapped me as they led me to the SUV. My wrists weren't cuffed, but the invisible weight of their authority felt heavier than any steel. My family stood on the porch, pale and shaking. As the door shut behind me, I caught one last glimpse of them. My family, my blood, my betrayers. The engine started, and I realized something. This wasn't the end. 2 weeks passed, 2 weeks of silence, glares, and whispers behind my back. My parents had turned my act of self-respect into an unforgivable crime. Family group chats had gone cold. My aunts, uncles, cousins, all fed on the version of the story Alina and my parents spun. Raina abandoned her sister on the most important day of her life. But truth, I was learning, doesn't need an audience to be valid. It just needs courage. In those 2 weeks, something inside me shifted. I focused on my job, applied for new opportunities, went for long walks without explaining myself to anyone. My world was small but mine, and for the first time it felt like enough. But then came the dinner. My father called, "Come home Sunday night, we need to talk, it's time you apologize." I almost laughed. Apologize for refusing to be treated like furniture. Still, I went. Not because I wanted to make peace, but because I was done running from them. The house looked the same, perfectly trimmed hedges, warm lights, the illusion of a perfect family. We sat at the long dining table. My mother wore her usual judgment-like perfume. Alina sat across from me in designer clothes, her engagement ring sparkling under the chandelier. My father cleared his throat. Raina, what you did at the wedding was selfish. You embarrassed us. Your sister cried because of you. She cried because I didn't do her chores. I said evenly. My mother slammed her fork down. Watch your tone. I leaned forward. No, you watch yours. All my life I've been the helper, the filler, the one who's always just there to make your lives smoother. You never ask me what I want. You just assign me roles. Alina scoffed. Oh, come on, you're overreacting. I met her eyes. Am I? When was the last time you introduced me to someone as your sister and not the one who helps with everything? When was the last time you asked me to be part of your big moment? Instead of working behind the scenes to make it perfect for you, she said nothing. Because she knew the answer, my father tried to regain control. This family has expectations, Raina. We all make sacrifices. No, I said, my voice steady and quiet, but sharper than I'd ever heard it. You don't make sacrifices, you make me make them. The room fell silent, the kind of silence that used to scare me into submission. But this time it empowered me. I stood up. The legs of my chair scraped the floor, a sound that felt like a battle cry. My mother's face turned crimson. If you walk away now, don't expect to come crawling back. I smiled softly. I never crawled in the first place. I was just never allowed to stand. And then I walked out. No tears, no apologies. Outside, the night air felt clean, cold but honest. I didn't know what the future would hold. Maybe less family gatherings, maybe fewer calls, but also no more chains. A week later, something unexpected happened. Alina called. Her voice was smaller, less polished. I did mind. I replied. I just finally stopped hiding it. We weren't magically healed, but for once the conversation wasn't one-sided. Months passed and I got a new job, one that paid well and valued me. I decorated my apartment with my own money, lit candles without worrying about someone needing me. I built a life outside their script. I wasn't the babysitter anymore. I was the woman who stopped apologizing for existing. They say weddings bring families together, but in my case, it tore away the mask I'd been wearing my whole life, and underneath it I found me.